Hello again, it's Gail Cameron from My Pocket Coach, and this is our series of leadership lessons. We have with us today Dr. Jerry Gule. Dr. Gule is currently the CEO of the Institute of People Management. And that's wonderful branding you're wearing there, Dr. Gule.
I decided to wear the brand today.
And a very, very warm welcome to you. And just by way of a formal introduction, Dr. Gule holds a master's in education from the University of Pittsburgh. He also has a master's in education from Harvard and also a PhD in education from Harvard. That is amazing. He started his career in lecturing at the University of Swaziland and spent many years at blue chip companies including SAPPI, Bromor Foods, Standard Bank, PwC, but a very long and distinguished career at Total South Africa, where you really transformed the organization in terms of employment equity, women empowerment, so important today, and also human resources. But then you applied your talents to the Marketing and Services Competency Center, which was across Africa and the Middle East. You joined the Institute of People Management in 2017. So you've had an amazing career and you're still leading with vigour and aplomb. I had the privilege of meeting you in 2006. It's such a long time ago when you participated in a coaching program with the I Group. So Dr. Jerry Gule, a very, very warm welcome. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Kay. Thanks. It's nice to be back here today. Okay, thank you.
So what is an important leadership lesson you've learned in your career?
Yeah, that's such a profound question. I have learned that leadership is never static. It is complex, it is shifting, it is circumstantial or situational, and that and it's not about an individual, it's about a group. If you're an individual and you're just thinking that you're a leader and you have no people that are supporting you or working with you, I think you're not a leader. You've got to recognize that you lead because there are people that are around you, that are supporting you. And I think in this whole complexity of trying to practice leadership, you really need to understand the people that are around you. But of course, leadership is about being accountable, taking that responsibility to say, I'm now going to be accountable for this. I'm going to lead the team, because eventually when decisions have to be made, when the buck, as they say, has to stop, it stops somewhere. And when you have been given the privilege of leading, and I must say it is a privilege to lead. And one of the lessons I've learned is that it is also temporal. I never think now that you are in this thing forever. You have to understand that it is seasonal. You'll be there for a time and your time will pass. And in my career, that's what I have seen.
Indeed. And I mean, leadership is a bit of a messy business, isn't it? I mean, it's not a one size fits all, as you've said, and it's a privilege to lead. So how have you built confidence and or resilience over the course of your career?
And don't we need that? Don't we need resilience and the ability to bounce back when things don't go your way? And I've seen that happen. Sometimes it doesn't go your way because, we all have blind spots, the so-called Johari window, things that we don't see. And they blindside us. And you've got to be humble enough first to admit that I didn't get right. And because it is in that spirit of admitting and almost forgiving yourself also, and hope that others will forgive you for the mistakes that you have made. Because in leadership, you make mistakes. I know that we as leaders, sometimes don't want to admit that, particularly to the teams that we lead, but they see. My view is that you can bounce back and become resilient if you are transparent and honest. Honest is the best policy. I have found people give you the benefit of the doubt if you are honest with them. When you goof, you say, I've goofed, I'm sorry. I mean, I am sorry. And we have to be human enough to understand that that's the language. You are human. You just have been given a responsibility to lead. And it's not because you are the best leader. It's because maybe time at that point, you were the person available and you demonstrated the skills and the ability to do that job. But you're not the only person who can do it. Even within the team is there to support you. I always use this analogy of soccer players, a soccer game. You can't be at the back, be the goalkeeper, and score the goals. Each person has to play their role. And what you want to avoid, in order to be resilient, is you want to avoid taking over everything. And I learned this actually from my team at Total, as we have referred to. There was a time when I had 10 HR managers reporting to me. And in fact, it happened that the majority of them were women. I remember this one time, one of the managers saying, Dr. Gule, just chill. Huh? Don't get involved in that. We will handle it for you. So that helps you, because it's easy in leadership to stress about things, but it helps you when you let go. In fact, one of the ladies said to me, Jerry, sometimes you just have to learn. And this is the camaraderie that you, or the spirit that you build with the team. People should feel free. You see, if you take out pretense, people feel free to come to you and talk to you. They can talk to you about anything. And if you don't have your ego in it, and that's my word, to be resilient, don't let your ego stand in the way, because it can.
I loved what you said now about not being afraid to make a mistake, because, you know, vulnerability is actually the new word in leadership. And of course, if you're, you know, can go into meetings without that pretense, without the ego mind, as you say, people will come and chat to you and not be afraid. So I love that. So describe a difficult time when you almost gave up. And what did you do to stay motivated?
Yeah, okay. You know, in fact, I'll give you two incidents where, in the one incident, I actually gave up. All right. I had this responsibility of being part of a team to review the constitution of Swaziland at the time. I was drafted into this commission, which was actually I mean, the way it was done in a debate, how was it done properly, there was always a debate. But here's what I learned in that process. Got into the process, 30 commissioners, was one of the commissioners, and was made vice chairman of that commission. Realized at some point that my own values and what we're trying to achieve, how we're going about doing this, was clashing. And then put in a resignation to say, well, the way we're doing this and the way my beliefs and how I think we should be doing this. But before throwing in the towel, but putting forward what I think the options were, those options, whether I'm there or not. Because one thing in leadership, as I've already indicated, don't think that you will always be the best person. There are so many brains. You bring your own unique flavor to things. I mean, someone said in the whatever billions of people we have on earth, there is only one like you, and you have to fulfill your part. But you will fulfill the arrow out of the way. To think that you have all the solutions as a leader, sometimes it's fallacious. Anyway, in that situation, because we didn't see eye to eye with the authorities that were there, and at some point I just said, then I can't be part of it. I've got to let go. And as much as I laugh, I think I would have made a contribution, changed things, but it's time to let go and leave that sort of prestigious thing of being seen in the light of vice chair, this and that. But again, don't put your ego in it. The second thing is, I really struggled, but I didn't give up. And what made me need to come back to keep my motivation? I think by the time I'd learned that and in fact, this has been my mantra, before I take any job, assess whether or not I want to work for this organization. I want to make a contribution in this particular space. And that's the lesson that I had to learn for myself and to commit to that. So when the chips were down in this particular organization, this particular place where reporting to the CE, the chief executive, and he, for some reason unknown to me, had made the decision that he just doesn't like me, right? And therefore would find opportunities to, in a way, humiliate me in public also. And I remember a couple of employees, not just one, saying to me, Jerry, but you can get a job anyway. Why don't you just resign? You can't. Why are you standing for this? The key there was, I felt I hadn't accomplished the mission that I joined that particular organization to do. So my purpose for being there had not been fulfilled. So when you recognize your purpose, you don't get pushed around by circumstances, what happens around you, because circumstances will change, right? It's just to keep to your true north, the stuff that you want to achieve, and that helps me to get motivated again. You can have the situation where you feel, why should I be doing this? But you remember, why are you there? And you ask yourself the question, have you done what you were supposed to do? If the answer to that question is no, and you still have the motivation, that I think motivates you. That at least motivated me in the second, and I stayed on. And here is what I loved, okay? Don't put your ego into it. When that particular CEO was an expatriate, of course, here, when he left, I was floored by what he said. He said, of all the people here, you're the guy that has consistently been talking to me respectfully, and I can see it in your face when you speak. And this was, I think, the last week when the guy was about to leave the country. And that's what he said. He said, you have kept in touch with me despite, and I do apologize for certain things that may have happened. I mean, it's work. It's not about me. It's about what we're trying to achieve. So that bounces this too. Just keep those things in mind. It's not personal. It's work.
Those are wonderful words of wisdom. You know, there's such valuable words that you've just spoken, and it takes a strong character to withstand that kind of adversity. Which, I mean, that is who you are as a leader. You know, you've got that strength of character, but it's not to take things personally. Is such wise words. So, how do you keep motivated? I mean, especially now during COVID.
Yeah, COVID has, I think, came from the left for all of us. And in fact, I look back and say in March, we were not prepared for what we're in now. I mean, we had heard about what was going on in China, the Asian part of the world, moving to Europe. But personally, I wasn't expecting. When it hit hard. And our organization, as a result, is still under a lot of strain at the moment. I think there are two things that have kept me going. Of course, one of them is just the faith that one has, and say, you know, I need to be connected, be grounded myself as a person, and to try to support those around me. So with the team, for instance, I've just focused on two things: their own personal safety and their own emotional well-being, as well as my own. So whilst the work is important, the work is vital. It keeps us, it gives us the sustainability in terms of incomes and all that. So we need the work. But the work without the people is useless. The organization without healthy, emotionally strong people, and making sure that they are also able to sustain those that depend on them, is more important than just the work for now. So I try to connect with the team at that level to make the team understand, you come first. Your health is number one. Let's just make sure that both physically and emotionally you are strong. And that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do for myself, to take all the precautions that we have been asked to take, and do the responsible things, and then, go out in faith.
That's so on point, because this pandemic, I mean, the two things that are needed is the safety and also the empathy. I mean, a few years ago, we know empathy didn't even feature in best practice leadership. I think it's pretty near the top now. And it's just, having that capacity to participate in people's feelings. And especially when you can't see your people, you have to go online. It's more difficult, but so important. What changes do we need to be mindful of in a post-COVID world?
That's a difficult question because you know why I say it's difficult, Gail, is I'm thinking and saying, how will the post-COVID world look like? In fact, is there going to be a post-COVID world? But yes, we hope that with the research work that's going on, that the right vaccine will be found and that this thing will be controlled. But I'm just worried about what you tend to hear also is that it shows off in various ways and it affects people in different ways. So there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. But let's best case scenario, there will be a post-COVID world. What do we think? What should we be doing as leaders, as people, as organizations? I think as leaders, we should learn our lessons from this, because everybody, stuff that I read at the moment is maybe what got us here is we didn't pay attention to the science around us. We didn't pay attention to the triple P, people, planet, and of course maybe just paid attention on profit at all costs. And it's time maybe to even balance that, think more careful about the people, the planet, think sustainability. So I think leaders going forward will need to do that, because I mean, there's a combination in our part of the world. It's actually, I think we have to be even more careful, because we're dealing with legacies of the past in terms of how we present as a people, as a world, just the disparities that we have. So I think we need to really think carefully. We need to come up with ways of leading that will cater for all of us, not just a few of us. We realized during this time, I mean, one of the changes that as a household we've made is actually to realize that it doesn't matter how much space you have. You can have small space, can provide you with stuff that you can consume. You can have a small plot, whatever, artificial, but you can plant stuff for yourself. I think this COVID thing has told, and anyone can do that. So I think leaders should, in the future, we should connect more with the teams that we lead. We should connect with the communities of which we are part, because this thing has shown us how interdependent we are. I mean, value chains, the interdependence that's there. And we now have to rethink, how do we actually do business and sustain business? Because where global value chains are connected, but what will COVID do to those? Ecosystems are critical. So it can't be my company is successful, I don't care about the guy down the road. It's not going to, or the lady down the road. It's not going to work like that. There is such interconnectedness, and leaders need to realize that. We need to realize that there is such interconnection, and that will help us in the post-COVID environment if it arises. I hope it arises soon.
That's so beautifully articulated, and I just love that, and I hope that as we move forward, we begin to realize that, we are all connected. We're all deeply connected, and that it's, greed is certainly going to be our downfall. We've got to find ways in which we can work together and help one another. And I really, really hope, your words of wisdom, that prevails. So how would you describe your leadership style, and how has this served you throughout your career?
Yeah, important question. How have I presented when I've given a group of people to work with, to lead? And it's such an important question, and it makes me stop and think, Gail, this question, because predominantly my leadership style will be democratic, will be a democratic style. It's a style that recognizes the value that other people bring to the party. But leadership itself, I mean, reflecting on this is, if you're going to lead and lead as a worthwhile leader, you must also want to lead, and you must also understand what motivates you to do that. Is it just to boost your own ego, Or is it to really facilitate? Leadership is not about, let me take over the work or let me tell you how this has to be done, but is to get the views of others, to say, okay, this is the purview that we should be traveling. This is the roadmap that we have ahead of us. How are we going to achieve this? Understanding that we are not dealing with children in the workplace in particular. You're dealing with adults who already have developed a sense of leadership on their own. So all that we are doing is to orchestrate that, to bring together that. That's what we are trying to do. So my leadership style is predominantly democratic, allowing people to come up, to rise up to the occasion, given what we're supposed to do. But I vary the leadership style depending on where people are, who the people are, because sometimes people need more guidance than that. So what do you do then? You come close to them. You are sometimes more directive, and it depends on the task that needs to be undertaken. Some tasks you have long lead time. Some tasks you've got to say, guys, we've got to stop this. We've got to start doing that. So we are more directive, but predominantly it's a respectful, democratic leadership style that understands that everybody has a contribution to make to the task at hand. That style has served me well. And I say it has served me well because I'm reflecting on feedback that I've been given. Feedback sometimes that I hear. I mean, I got a mail the other day and I actually showed it to my wife and I laughed about it. I just said, I don't even remember. Yes, this guy says to me, Jerry, you don't know what a role model we have been. This is a guy that I've spoken to in 20 years.
Wow.
And sends me this message via LinkedIn, and he says, you will never know what impact we've had on myself, on my family, on my colleagues. And then he gives me the example. This is where it happened. So that gives me the feedback that whilst you remain humble, you've got to accept what feedback people give you and just receive that with grace and go forward with it. So it has served me well, I would say.
That is so amazing. And I mean, the past that you were describing where you have to give direction and you have to be humble, it really sounds like a style that Nelson Mandela would have been proud of.
Yes.
So what advice would you like to give the next generation of leaders?
I think I would say the time of being a lone ranger, of being a know-it-all is long gone. If there was such a time, and it was actually true that that's what's supposed to. But I think that time is gone. And I think the new breed of leaders understand that. I mean, these are leaders who believe in transparency. And I think they should keep that top of mind, up front and center, that transparency is going to be needed, and honesty. Some of the values, the things that need to be embedded in leadership, as we spoke here, around ethics, because let's not forget it, we're all selfish individuals. We want to collect things for ourselves. But I think as a leader, you have to think about the collective, think about the responsibility that we have, the role model that we have to be. And ethics are not going to go away. So we need ethical leaders and leaders that will stand up. It doesn't mean that wrong is human nature. Says that we are selfish, we want to hoard things to ourselves. And leaders will have to stand up at whatever spheres of life they are at to say, but that's not correct. That's what has to be done. Sometimes you've got to do that and say, that's not the path that we are going to follow. And I'm hoping that they will have heart for people. The World Economic Forum, has listed people management. And I'm proud to be part of an organization that talks about people management, that leaders and executives must understand that they need to manage their people the best. They must put them up there because you deliver through the people. You don't deliver on your own. You work through the people to deliver the best results that you can.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, your sage advice. I think the team at the IPM are really privileged to have you. It's been wonderful having you on the show today. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail.